Welcome to the Data Hall YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to talk about extensively related to merge command. So this merge command in Stata is used to merge the data or to combine different data sets. So within merge, there are different options, or there are different types of merge that we can use. It is one-to-one merge, many-to-many merge, one-to-many, and many-to-many merge. So these are all different types of merge that we are going to discuss in this video. We are also going to look into different options that we have related to merge. So let's get started. We would start with this simple case of one-to-one merge. So we have different data sets over here. So we have this students name data set and then students details data set. Let me open these side by side. So on the left hand side, we have these students names data that contain a registration number of each student, and this is a unique registration number assigned to each student. So this 2001 registration number is assigned to Stephen Curry, 2002 is assigned to Chris Paul, and so on and so forth. So this file just contains their names and registration numbers. And then we have this student details data, and that contains a registration number and their age, project marks, and final marks. So for each student registration number, we have a single set of data, a single row, right? So a registration number is not repeated. So what we want to do is we want to take this data and merge it in the relevant space in the student's name data. So what we want is that we can have the age, the project marks, and the final marks of Stephen Curry to be pasted over here. Similarly, for the Chris Paul, we want the relevant marks to be pasted over here. For Derek, we do not have any details, so that would be missing data. For Matthew, we do have data, but for Joe, we do not have. And then there is 2005 and 6, that is, we do not have their names. So what we want is their registration number pasted over here and their relevant data over here, but we would not know their names. So this is what we want to do. The simple task is to merge these datas. So because for each single registration number, we have a single row of data over here. So this is why we are going to use a one-on merge, right? That means is that each registration number does have a single data in both these files. So let's open this student's data file in our window. And we are going to merge this using this one-to-one merge, because for each single registration number in the student's data, so this one stands for this student's names file. And let's understand these two terminologies. One is called the master file and the second is the using file. The master file is the one that is currently opened in the Stata's memory. So this happens to be the student's names because we have just opened that file. And then this using file is the file that we want to use the data from. We want to take the data from and merge it with our master file. So this one-to-one, this first number is for the master file, and the second number is for the using file. So we know for each registration number we just have one name, so that's why it is one in the master, and for each registration number we just have one row in our student's detail. So we have one over here. So how this command would work is we specify the merge command, then the type of merge that we are going to use, and remember these are the different type of merge that we have. Then we specify the key variable using which the data would be merged, because we know that we have a common variable that is a registration number and it can identify the data in both these data sets. So we are going to use registration number as the key variable. Then we use the word using and specify the name of the file using which we want to merge. So let's merge this and let's look at the data set. Okay, so we get a summary over here and it says that 3 of the datas were merged. So they had, the 3 individuals had their data in the using file, but there were 4 that were not merged, right? 2 were not merged from the master file and 2 were not merged from the using file. And what that means is that if we remember from the details file, we had data for Stephen Curry and Chris Paul. So these data had been copied, but remember, direct didn't have data in the details file. So we have master only, which means that we only had its data in the master file and not in the using file. And then Matthew also had the data, so that is matched. Joey didn't have data in the using file, so it's also a master only. And then there were these 2 individuals whose data was there in the details file, that is the using file, but we didn't have their names in the master file, so it says that using only. So these 2 were just in the student's detail file, that is the using file, and these 2 datas were only in the master file. These 3 datas were in the using and as well as in the master file. Okay, so let's say we just want to keep the data that had been matched. So what we can do is we would get this variable underscore merge, and it would contain 3 numbers, 1, 2, and 3, and 3 stands for if that is merged. We can see that over here. 1 stands if it is just in master file, and 2 stands if it is only in the using file. So let's just say if we just want to keep the data that was in both the files, then we would keep if underscore merge is equal to 3, and that would just keep the data that was there in both the files. This is how it looks like. We can also do that other way around. So let's just say if we open the details file and now we want to import the names over here, then we again do the command name 1-to-1 merge, because this is the type of merge we are going to use. Then the key variable, the word using, and then the name of the dataset that we are going to merge. And this is how the data would look like. Now in this case, this details file was the master file, and this student's names file was the using file. Now we sometimes encounter errors, and it's good to understand what error we would get and what are their solutions, what is the reason for getting those errors. So we have over here a student's detail error file. Let me show you that error file. So this is the file that we are talking about. Let me open this file. Now this is exactly as the student's detail file, except that we have 2 rows related to STD 2006. So we remember we said that there will be only 1 row for each registration number, but we have a duplication in our data set. Somehow we had a duplication in our data set. And now what error would we get and how do we solve that issue? So what we are going to do is again get the student's name data. So this student's name data becomes our master file, and we are going to do this merge 1-to-1 again registration number. So this is the same command as these 2 over here, except instead of using the student's detail, we are going to use this student's detail error data. We get an error, and let's understand this error. This variable registration number does not uniquely identify observations in the using data. Now, which one is the using data? Is it the student's name data or the student's detail error data? Yes, it is the student's detail error data. So what it is saying is that registration number does not uniquely identify the data over there in the using file. And we know why, because STD is 2006 is repeated twice, and from our merge type, we are saying that it would be just once in the using file. So whenever you get this type of error, there would be 2 possibilities that there would be 2 reasons that why you are getting this error. First, either you have used a wrong merge type, or there is a duplication in your data. In our case, we had a duplication in our data, but in your case, it might be because you're using a wrong merge type, and you get, in both these cases, you get the same error. Okay, so let's move forward and let's match on multiple key variable. So let's just say we have this students names multiple, and let's look at this data. Okay, so now we have these registration numbers, but these registration numbers are repeated, right? And the reason is that we have the same series for different programs. So if we want to identify an individual students, we cannot identify that just by looking at the registration number. So STD 2001 doesn't necessarily mean Stephen Curry. It may mean Matthew, right? So to exactly identify Stephen Curry, we would have to use, or any individual student, we would have to use both program and registration number. So now these two are the key variables. These two combinedly identify a student. So if we have two key variable, the merging is still the same. We just have to specify those two key variables over here. So we use merge 1 to 1. Let's just say we stick to our example, program registration number, because these two are these both are the key variable, and then we specify the name of the file. So let me also show you this students detail multiple file. And you can see in the students detail multiple file, we also have a program and registration number, and these two variables are combinedly identifying an individual student. Okay, so if I merge this, we get exactly same type of data, our summary statistics, and the data had nicely been merged. Okay, so let's move to the next case, that is many to one merge. And first let's have this students courses data. And what this data tells us is that each student would register different courses. I mean, it would be more than one. So this table contains the course that is registered by each student. So the registration number and the courses that they have registered. So you can see that 2001 is repeated thrice, right? So this specific student had registered 3 courses. This specific have registered 2 courses. Similarly goes for 2003, but 2004 and 5 just have 1 registered course. So now we have a repeating registration number, and this again is our master file, right? So we have this repeated registration number in our master file, and if we wanted to merge the students' names in front of this courses, and if we did the same one-to-one merge, what error would we get? The variable registration number does not uniquely identify observations in the master file, and this is our master file. What it is saying is that you have mentioned in your command that there is one row for a single registration number and in your master file, but this isn't the case, and that is why we are getting this error. And if you remember over here when we got the error, I told you that there would be 2 cases when you would get this error. Either you have a duplication in your dataset, or you have used a wrong merge type. In this case, I have used the wrong merge type. What I should have done is merge m:1, that is many to one, because we have many registration number, many instances of the key variable in our master file, and a single instance of the key variable in our using file. So now if we merge this, the merge would work, and this is how the data would look like. We would have the 3 instances of the names that had been merged. Okay, we can also do the opposite, that is one-to-one merge. If we open the students names data and we want to have the courses that is registered by each student pasted in front of them, then that means we are going to do one-to-many merge. And that is because in our master file, we have just one row for each registration number, one instance for each registration number. But in our using file, which is the courses file, we have multiple instances. So let's open this names file and let's do one-to-many merge. And this is how it would look like, right? Let me just sort this on registration numbers so we would have a better idea. So this Stephen Curry had been replicated, and we have their courses in front of each student. We can also have many-to-many merge, but I cannot think of any example for this one. And usually, this is not a common thing to happen. Mostly we would be working with one-to-many, many-to-one, or one-to-one. But in case you have many-to-many combination, that is what you can also do. So let's move on to some of the options that we can work with. So whenever you do merge, you would have this underscore merge variable being created. But let's just say if you want to do multiple files merging, then this might not be a good idea to have this merge, because each time when you do a merge, you'd have to drop this merge variable. So let's have this student's name data. And so what we can do is we can use this nogenerate option, and that would not generate the merge. It would merge the data had been merged, but it didn't generate that underscore merge variable. Similarly, we can ask it not to report the summary statistics, right, by using the no report, or we can ask it not to copy the value labels or the variable labels, right? We can also do, specify the name of the underscore merge variable. So by default, the variable that would contain the merge detail would be underscore merge. But we can use this generate option and specify the name of the variable that would be created, and that would work, right? So we would have a name that we have assigned to this variable using this generate option. Okay, so we can not import all the not merge all the variables. So we know that in the student's detail file, we have age, we have project marks, and we have total marks. But let's just say we are just interested in age. So what we can do is we can use this keep using option, and within parentheses, we can specify the variable or variables, right? So project marks or whatever number of variables we have, we would just have them specified in this keep using option, right? And that would just merge that specific variable. So we get only the age variable. Similarly, we can do this keep option, and what that would do is from the first instance, you remember we did keep if underscore merge is equal to 3. So this thing was done in 2 commands, but we could have done it in a single merge command, and that is by using this keep option. And what this keep option would do, we would have to specify a parameter within it, and let's just say if we specify a match, and that would mean that only keep the observations that were matched, right? So 3 observations were matched, so we get exactly the same. So either we can specify that within this merge command as a keep option, or we can specify it afterwards. We can also do keep master, and that would mean that only keep the values that were there in the master file, master only, right? So then we can also do match and master, and that would just keep all the values that were matched and as well as the master only values, right? So this is how it would look like. Lastly, we can do merge update, and to understand this, we have this merge update file. Let me show you this file. So we have over here these 2 data sets. One is this our original data that we have assembled. This is currently open in our Stata's memory. And then we have some updates to this data. So let's just say we realized that there were certain values that were missing, certain values were incorrect. So for example, we didn't had name for 2005 and 6. So we have able to generate another updated data set. It isn't a full data set, but these are just the updates to our current data set. So it contains the name of those missing registration numbers, And then there were certain values that were missing. For example, Joy didn't had age, so we have over here. Similarly, this Matthew's project marks were written as 26, but the correct marks were 62, and there are certain other changes, right? So what if we wanted to take this data and just update this data? I mean, not merge it, just update our current data set. Now, if we do simple update, what that would do is it would just retain our current data, which is incorrect. What we want is we want to update. So that's why we would have to use this update option. So let me get this fresh copy of our data, and if we use merge 1-to-1, we have registration number, and then we specify the file name, and the most important, the update option. If we do that, you would see that we get this missing updates. And what this is saying is that there was some updates happened over in these rows. Remember 2005 and 6 didn't had Andrew and Dan, the names. So this had been updated. Joy didn't had its age. So that had also been updated. But we also see this non-missing conflict. And if you remember, the project marks for Matthew were written as 26, but the original marks were 62. So it didn't replace this. It replaced the missing values, but not the conflict. It would just specify us, it would just warn us that there was some conflict, but it would not replace it. And if you want to replace it, then you would have to use this additional replace option. Now, if you do that, let me redo it all. And now you would see that that conflict will also be updated. So I hope that was useful. Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned to this channel.